eating plants is harming the environment in the way that we are as a society. And that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, is that monocropping is a very big problem. Hello, sweet, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Divine Alignment. Today, we are going to be talking about, is eating meat spiritual? Can I be spiritual and still eat meat? Is it spiritual to consume animals and or animal products? I really want to preface all of this with, these are my opinions and beliefs, and I absolutely respect and honor wherever you are in your journey and your beliefs. So this is not in any way, shape, or form me telling you what to think, what to believe. This is simply offering my perspective, because I will say that it is one of the number one questions I get asked when I meet new people and they find out that I'm a nutritionist. They ask, what do you think about eating meat? It's literally like I meet someone new and that's what they ask. So I really wanted to talk about this because you may have the same question. You may be wondering the same thing. Maybe you're on the spiritual path and you're like, I see it happen very often to go vegan or vegetarian or fully raw, like all of these things. So I really want to dive into all of this and once again offer my perspective. I'm not telling you what to believe. And I'm also very open to your thoughts and your beliefs. Because what I've been noticing is my beliefs are changing and shifting daily. So with that being said, I just want to begin with the fact that I personally believe, yes, you can eat meat and still be spiritual. Okay, so I'll share just a bit about my journey, because I think it's always fascinating to see where people's eating evolution and journeys have come from. And I will share that I grew up actually vegetarian, primarily vegetarian. Um, this was just because my dad wanted to be vegetarian. And my mom, I'm an only child. My mom didn't want to cook multiple different things. So I was primarily vegetarian. However, whenever my dad would travel, my mom and I would typically have um, some type of like poultry, some type of like chicken or something like that. So I didn't grow up eating, though, ever any red meat. Fast forward to me finding out I was celiac in middle school. I started incorporating meat because I think my mom didn't want to be restricting my diet any more of like not cutting out gluten completely as a kid, to have me having more things that I had to cut out. So I then started eating more fish and chicken and turkey. And then I got to college, and there was a class that I took in undergrad, and it was called Philosophy of Animals. And sweet British man, I loved that class, but he had us watch this documentary. I'm sure I don't remember which one it was, to be honest, Cowspiracy or something like that. He had us watch it, and I went completely vegan. I was like, I cannot believe that I would ever eat animals. I can't believe what they're doing to the environment. I went completely vegan. I felt really great, and then I felt not really great. So I started incorporating meat again because I went and got labs, blood work done, and it showed that I really needed the nutrients. So all of this to say, now I eat meat, and I want to share that I have had a lot of nuances come in about this over the years. I don't just say I think we should or shouldn't eat meat. I think that everyone is different. And what I really believe now, again, my beliefs have shifted a lot over the years. I believe now that there are different seasons. We have 4 seasons in the year. We also have different seasons in our personal life. We also have different seasons in our cycles, our hormonal cycle. And I think what's really important is to take into consideration all of these different seasons, as well as timing, like what you need 1 week, 1 month, at the beginning of the day versus at the end of the day, right? Like, I think all of these things are very different. And what I'm going to be sharing is just my invitation for you to begin to perhaps ask your higher self, your soul, your spirit, what would be best for me? You know, a lot of people talk about that this diet is the best and this diet is the best, and they can be, but perhaps for that person and for that time, right? So like, I want to just first begin with like evolutionarily, like how we're supposed to eat is going to depend on your ancestors, right? So maybe your ancestors were carnivores, maybe your ancestors were vegan. That might be something worth looking into for you. And then also, if we look at the calendar year, we go through these 4 seasons. Now, depending on where you live, it's going to vary a bit. But once I started embracing seasonal eating, I noticed a big difference in just like how I felt. I used to eat smoothies all the time. I was obsessed with smoothies, and I would have them all year round. So like it would be snowing out and I'd be making a smoothie, cold smoothie. Now I have, now that I've like done a lot of healing and gotten more in touch with myself, I have a zero desire when it's cold out to have anything cold. So that's kind of like a rule of thumb that I've like lived by, is if it's cold outside, don't put cold in my body. Right? Like I would actually break the rule of, as far as if it's hot outside, I would still put something hot in my body. But our bodies, they don't, and this is where also like looking into different layers of your digestion are going to be really important. So like your constitution in Ayurveda, are you Vata, Pitta, or Kapha? So like if you are Kapha, your earth energy, you can tolerate more cold. You can tolerate more astringent and more pungent and spicy foods because it kind of helps awaken that earth energy. If you are more pitta, you're the fire, more, that's your dominant dosha, you're more fiery. Having cold is actually going to be good for you. So even if it's winter. If you're vata, which is my primary dosha, we're all of them, but that's my primary, what I typically express as, which is more the wind energy. If your primary is that, you're going to want more grounding. So like warm grounding foods, think root vegetables and things that ground us, that are grown literally in the earth, that ground, like when we eat something that is of the grown underground, we get that grounding. If we eat something that is above ground, that's less grounding, and it's not good or bad or right or wrong. So as we move throughout the year, I think it's really important to look at seasonally, like what is in abundance in the environment. I think many of us are very detached from what Mother Nature is like telling us. So we can go to the store and get anything. We can get bananas from Ecuador and pineapples from Costa Rica. And this is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. I think this is really incredible. However, I think it has really put us out of touch with like what is best for our body. And I'm not saying that you should eat everything that's seasonal, because everything that's seasonal might not be right for your body. But that's the best place to start, I believe, is eating seasonally. So like just looking up like what's in season, maybe going to a farmer's market during the winter versus the spring versus the summer versus the fall. And then eating what's supportive of these things. And I know this has nothing to do with meat yet, but we're getting there. Now, I think it's also really important to look at, I think this is really important to like paint the foundation too, because I'm not going to say, like, I could just tell you like, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not okay. But I think understanding food in general is really important. When people tell me that I have a really good diet, I'm vegan, I have a really good diet, I'm vegetarian, that means nothing to me. Okay. Literally means nothing, because beer is vegan, Doritos are vegan, alcohol is vegan, mini donuts, Krispy Kreme. I don't know. Is Krispy Kreme? I don't know. A lot of processed foods are vegan or vegetarian. So when people tell me I eat really healthy, I'm vegan, I say, well, what does that mean? Tell me what that means. Right? Because it doesn't mean that you necessarily eat healthy just because you don't eat animals. And that is the biggest misconception and belief I want to dispel, is that vegan and vegetarian do not equal healthy. Okay. And what I've began to notice in my life is that different seasons, again, in the calendar year, but also in our life and in our month and in our day, require and are asking of us different nutrients. So what I have been shown, and what I think is really interesting, is I've always gravitated, not always, but since I've become more in tune with my body, I've gravitated towards having lighter foods during the day. So no animal products. I typically don't eat animal products in the morning and afternoon. In the evening, I'll typically have some type of animal product, whether it is meat or eggs or fish or something. And I never really understood this until I kind of like pieced it together in my mind that, oh, this makes a lot of sense, in that the vibration of meat is heavier. It's grounding. It's grounding. A lot of my work, a lot of what I do is I want to be a clear channel. I want to be a clear vessel for guidance for my clients, for myself, for channeling, for doing this type of work. And it doesn't mean that if you eat meat, you're not a clear channel. It doesn't mean that. However, meat is grounding. It's grounding. Okay. And so I find it fascinating that I've always gravitated towards, again, since I've been in tune with my body, eating lighter foods during the day. And then as kind of like a moving into my day is done, grounding everything that I've done, grounding it into the body, coming into the body more, and like settling. And now I'm not as active. My body has more time to digest. Meat does take more effort to digest. However, if we can't just be always up in the clouds, right? Sometimes I would like to be, but that's not the world we live in. And none of us signed up to just always be up in the clouds. We signed up to be in a body. We signed up to be in a body. And part of being in a body is being grounded. And so that really leads me to, before I get to that, there's also going to be different seasons in your life. So perhaps you're going through a season of awakening your spiritual gifts. You might go for days, weeks, months without eating any animal products because you're awakening your gifts. This is actually quite normal and I see this happen as like a pretty normal thing. And it's not bad. This might help you get in tune and in touch with your spiritual gifts if you've been eating meat your whole life. If it's the opposite, like you feel like you've been eating vegan and vegetarian and now you're like, my gifts feel like they've turned off, this might help you ground it into the body, right? And so like begin to think about like what you're doing during the day, perhaps where you are at in your cycle if you're a woman, and perhaps what your life is requiring of you. Are you in a season where you're growing spiritually, or are you in a season where you're like integrating and resting? Because it's going to require different nutrients of you. Okay. So begin to think about that, and perhaps work with someone if it feels too confusing for you, like myself or someone else who does nutrition and energetics, because it's really important to not just that was my biggest qualm, I would say, with which I don't even want to say anything bad about nutrition school, but when I got my master's in holistic nutrition is I learned about all of the vitamins and nutrients and healing benefits of certain foods, which they are. However, it doesn't make them good for you. Okay. And I really want people to understand that. Energy and vibration are really important too, which leads me to another thing that I really believe to be true is contracts. I believe that human beings have made a contract with animals that they are food. And this isn't to say, and there's so many like nuances and caveats and like addendums to this. So don't interpret it as like we're just these Neanderthal beasts that are supposed to eat everything. I don't believe that. However, I believe that we did on a soul level make a contract to consume animal products, animals in general, not all animals, and absolutely not in the way that we're currently doing in our society. Animals were never intended to be in these horrible, horrific plants and abused and fed hormones and subsidized so that we can get it for $1 on a menu. Absolutely not. This is not the way that Mother Nature intended it. That's not the way that animals should be treated. And I 1000% agree with vegans and vegetarians in this belief that we are treating the animals so poorly, so poorly. It's making me emotional. And I don't believe that what we're doing is correct in any way, shape, or form. However, when we live in the way that Mother Nature and the earth and source intended, where we as humans are connected to the earth, animals are connected to the earth, and it's not this overproduction, mass production, hormones, all of this stuff. When animals are grazing, living a happy life, humans are also more connected to the earth, living hopefully happy lives. And then there is a beautiful contract that is made with animals that they can be of nourishment for humans. This isn't to say all of them or always. And absolutely, I don't believe that we need to be eating meat 3 times a day. You just don't believe that. But maybe you're in a season where you do, right? Like it just depends. The way that we have created our system right now, though, is not supportive in growing evolutionarily, and it's not going to last, right? Like we can't keep treating animals the way that we are. We just can't. And a lot of people believe that they're helping the planet by going vegan. And I'm not saying this isn't helping the planet, but unfortunately, this production is still happening, and this subsidization, the animals and these products being subsidized is still happening. And this is where the problem lies. It's not in, if we were to do things naturally, because you want to know what is that also eating plants is harming the environment in the way that we are as a society. And that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, is that monocropping, which is something that I don't want to go like too scientific, but monocropping is a very big problem. It's where we plant these fields of single crops, just like one thing, like sugarcane, beets, cotton, or wheat. Corn is a really big one. And we just have like just monocrops. So we're not like having diversity. This also leads to really big problems, because think back to our ancestors. They most likely did not have thousands and thousands of miles of one crop. How would they have survived? No, they had like certain things that would grow during certain times of the year, and then it would be certain things at another time of the year. And this is how they would get variety. The soil has been depleted, the earth, everything that we are doing. So it's not just animals. We're not treating plants good either. And plants are also benefiting from animals who are treated well. So it's like, if we can treat animals well and plants well, and really come back to a place of, I think, also just like honoring and connecting with our food and the process and the systems, and in a holistic and organic way, not the systems, but the way in which we actually get our food. So many people don't even realize how many steps it takes for them to receive what is on their plate. It has to go from a farm or a factory to a truck to another truck to a warehouse to a this to a this to a this, and it's like all for this one thing to be on your plate, and all of the people who touched it, and it, like, we're just so disconnected. And so what I really, really want to perhaps even give permission to is, you're not doing anything wrong if your body is craving meat. I know that for myself, I thought for a long time that I was bad if I ate it because I was hurting animals. And this just isn't the case. Okay. Your body is asking for you what it wants from you. And so that means honoring it, but I think also in however way you can afford financially, to getting the best quality humanely raised meat. Unfortunately, we live in a time where we are voting with our dollar. We're voting with our dollar. So when we pay more for things that are of integrity and of good quality, we are voting every dollar we spend. And so when people go to McDonald's and get these things that are subsidized, they're also voting, right? And we can't change what others are going to do, but we can do what we can. And again, I know this isn't easy for everyone. And my hope and my goal and my dream is that avocados and things can be subsidized. Like, why is an avocado $2 and a burger is $2? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. Right? And so this is where our sovereignty and again, voting with our dollar. But I think the biggest thing I want to tell people is, like, there's nothing wrong if you want meat. I thought for a long time that I was doing something wrong if I wanted it because I could tell my body wanted it and needed it. My hormones needed it. And I will see this a lot of times, like with women who have low iron or low progesterone or low hormone levels in their panels. It's because their body is actually needing this. Can you out supplement it? Yeah, you can. You to a degree, but again, that's why I think everyone's different and why I really began with like inviting you to look at your ancestry, like your personal ancestry, perhaps even looking at your blood type, perhaps even looking at your environment, right? Like it's much easier to be a vegetarian or a vegan if you live somewhere where you are in the sunshine on the beach all day. Like it's just going to be easier. Whereas if you are somewhere where it's going to be colder and you're higher up from the equator, it's going to be more difficult, right? So that's why I say like there's so many caveats and nuances and all of these things, but I just feel like there's a lot of shame in the spiritual community for people who eat meat from some. And I don't feel that anymore. Like doing me. But I know there was a time where I did feel really bad and I felt guilty and like I was doing something wrong. And so to younger self, Jasmine, and to perhaps you, if you're in that position, like knowing and trusting, like listen to your body. What's your body asking of you? And this is where it gets really helpful to tune into meditation and begin to learn what your body is actually asking of you. Because again, if you are like really awakening spiritually right now, like maybe it feels really good to not have any animal products. If you're in a phase where you're like, whoa, I am, all of this stuff is happening in my life. I feel like I don't have any control. I really just need some grounding. That is where perhaps having some meat and some grounding foods, like things that, like I was sharing, grow in the earth, carrots, beets, sweet potatoes. It's going to help you ground in the energy and help you feel safe in your body because ultimately it's about feeling safe in your body. Like it's about supporting your nervous system. And I think that that's the biggest thing. So, like, feeling safe in your body will create your entire experience of life to be better. Plain and simple, regulating your nervous system. That's why so much of the work that I do works with the nervous system. Like, we have to regulate our nervous system in order to be healthy, be successful, have good relationships. Like it's really the foundation for any type of spiritual, physical, and mental and emotional work. And that's why the last thing I feel like I want to end on is being open, being open to your body changing and evolving, right? I think that's the biggest problem I see is that people get fixed on one way of eating. So they commit to being vegan, they feel really good, and then they say, this is the way. It's the way to eat. Or even on the completely opposite side of the scale, carnivore diet. People do that and it heals their gut, and they're like, this is the way to eat. I would invite you to not be too rigid with any one way of eating. This will open up so much for you, not only in your body and in your health, but in all aspects of your life. Okay. Because your life is asking different things of you, which is what I've been sharing. Right. So, like, being open to like what worked then might not work now. What works now might not work in a year, in a month, or tomorrow. Also, really, if you're a woman, like looking at your cycle and optimizing. I'm not like the hormone expert, but there are so many great resources, Woman Code being one of them, to like look at like things that support you in different stages of your cycle. And so that's why to say like just one diet or one way of eating or to eat meat or not eat meat, like it's never just that linear. It's never just that linear. I really invite you to look at these different ways and be open to your diet shifting. That's why regulating your nervous system will allow you to tune into what your body is wanting. And being open, like that might actually mean wanting comfort food, which might actually be the packaged foods. I think that we've demonized a lot of these foods over the years. And do I personally eat bad foods? Not really. Not really. Because I don't want to. I don't want to. However, I do find that there are times where, like, making a gluten-free, homemade, baked good is absolutely what my body wants and my soul wants. Right? Like, and that's okay. Or even like dairy-free ice cream. So it's like, again, like, it's like being aware of these things and still reading labels and still looking at like additives and things like that, but like also asking your soul what it wants. So there's like many layers to this. And I think that that's why it really does come back to feeling good and safe in your body. And a lot of people, I know for myself, I didn't even know what my body wanted for many years because I just ate what I thought that I should eat, which was everything as healthy as you possibly could be. And yet I did not feel good because I was just doing what I thought I should. I was working out more than I needed to, doing all of these things because I thought that I should. And I was in really not optimal health. When I actually became more lenient and like started looking at the energetics and tuning into what my body was wanting, honoring what my body was wanting, all of a sudden I started feeling better. I knew more what I wanted. My gifts continued to open up more, my psychic gifts. And like, so you don't have to be raw vegan to be psychic. You just don't. You don't have to be raw vegan to channel. Okay. And if you want to be for whatever, if that's what your body is asking for you to do that, then honor that. But also be open that it might shift. That's the biggest thing. That's what I really want to instill is be open. Be open to your body needing different things at different times because you are evolving, you are growing, you are expanding. The energies on our planet are wild and intense and are always shifting and honoring how you feel in your body and what it needs at certain times is going to support you so much rather than just like eating something just because it's healthy and you think you should and it's habit and routine. Be open to all of this shifting and changing. All right, my loves. There's a lot here. Work with someone definitely if you don't feel confident in tuning into what your body is needing. I find that sometimes it takes us working with someone to get us to a place where we can now understand what our body is needing. So honor that if that is what you are needing, okay? And even still, I never will say that I like don't need help. I always am open to someone's new opinion or I still like to do lab work and these things of just like tuning in, like where's my body at? Right? There's nothing wrong with that. So if you are needing that deeper support, please reach out to myself or someone else. But trust your sweet, sweet, beautiful body that it will tell you what it needs. It will ask you and invite you into what it needs and honor it. All right. So with that, sending you all infinite love and light.